Mira Business FM.
It's the morning drive at Mira Business FM. Excuse me, my name's Tim Elliott. You can join us in a number of different ways, whether it's across social media. Really easy to find us. Just search Mira Business FM, M-I-R-A. You can also be with us on the website, mirabusiness.fm, or of course streaming on YouTube and other platforms. Contact us, info@mira.fm, to get involved in the show or let us know what you think. It's always appreciated if a thumbs up appears or a like appears as well. And whatsapp.mira.fm. And wherever you get your podcasts, you should find podcasts from us here at Mira Business FM. Now, Muzammil Shaikh is with me. He's an investment expert. He's our tech guy here. He's a jack of all trades and a master of many. I'm trying to think of superlatives for all of our guests. So that's what you get today, Muzammil. But it is nice to see you.
Hello.
Good to have you here. Now, a couple of stories to talk to you about today. Interesting stories as well, I think. Credit scores. And then we've had an announcement from the Central Bank of the UAE about personal loan requirements, which is a big story, I think. But I wanted to start with credit scores. It's a topic that we've covered a number of times. The Etihad Credit Bureau is the dominant kind of credit score facility here in the UAE. And they're behind this. The way UAE residents manage and understand their credit is undergoing major transformation. They're rolling out sweeping reforms designed to give customers more control over financial data, their own financial data, and a clearer view of how their credit behavior shapes opportunity. So I wanted to start there. And the first observation, really, I kind of think, is the more transparency, the more awareness, the more access to our information we have, Muzammil, I would contend, the better.
Well, exactly. I think most people are just roaming in the dark, effectively, right? When it
Very
comes
often,
to
yeah.
credit cards or loans, and usually, many times the first loan they need is when they are getting established in life is maybe a car loan or credit card for some basic needs or buying some things online. And I believe now the only thing I have to question is that is the knowledge getting out there? Are people still? How will this? Not everyone's reading Gulf News or Khalij Times, right? So and even if you do, you might miss the story. So how do you get access to it? Are they promoting? I haven't seen any outdoor ads or any ads about the credit bureau that much.
Well, this is true, but I mean, I guess that's a familiar argument everywhere. You have access to information. It's whether you choose to receive the information in some ways. But I take your point. I mean, the thing is, credit scores have become increasingly important. There's no doubt about that here in the UAE. There's the new portal that Etihad have launched and a new app. And what they say they're trying to do is to empower people more than ever. So that's good news. So taking control, responsibility of personal finances. I wanted to just ask you, just if you can frame it for us, just how valuable is a good credit score?
In developed economies, it's not just valuable; it's a necessity.
Yeah.
You cannot move forward without it. I believe here it's a necessity for the banks when they're issuing credit cards behind the scenes. However, in other areas, it's ignored to some extent. People don't know how to use it or don't care for it, or even if you present it, it's not taken. I just want I want my 4 checks. I don't care if you have a good. I'm not going to give you this apartment in 12 checks. That kind of situation. That needs to evolve. That is very important. That looking at someone's credit score, you say this guy is not going to be delinquent. He hasn't missed any of his payments for his utility bills. Nothing. Hasn't bounced any checks. Why am I putting him in that position? This guy can be a long-term client or my tenant. So this cultural evolution is yet to occur. I'm not sure it's happening. I haven't seen any evidence of it. I believe that maybe it has started. Again, no evidence that the larger entities like the real estate companies will be taking the lead on this and incorporating, because they have started taking payments by direct debit, electronic payments, this and that. So those will lead the way. And then the tier 2, tier 3 real estate providers will go in that direction. So apart from that, you should look at your credit score, try to understand what it is, use all the AI platforms to learn more about it and ask questions by other people, because the AI platforms will only give you as per your prompts, right? They will not answer you. If your prompts are good, you'll get good answers. Otherwise, your prompts will be whatever, basic. So
This is what we're learning about AI, is how to prompt, isn't it? That's a kind of an experience at the moment. The thing is with this, if you look at it from the other side of the coin, from the institution side, lending is perhaps more transparent. It offers, improved risk management for banks.
It does. I would say, I would go this far that if you, for example, open a US brokerage account, there are parts where there's a quiz there. And you need to pass that quiz. Well, that quiz is pretty basic. You can cheat and pass on it. That's different. But they at least have a quiz where it forces you to go through a thought process of, if I want to trade options, if I want to invest in equities, do I have any kind of understanding around it? I think that this kind of piece needs to happen here, where, for example, when people get a visa here on the mainland, they are sent for, if they don't have a degree, they are sent for training. To the centers that know your rights kind of training, which is like a forced training. They make you watch videos that if you're mistreated by the employer, that these are your rights. So I believe that before credit card, there should be some kind of process where either it's outsourced, then someone calls in and then checks with you. Do you understand what you're buying? Do you really understand what you're buying? Okay, especially for people with around certain income levels, that so they don't get stuck in in a very nasty situation. Okay, if you're wealthier and you're up the graph, that even they probably don't know how to manage debt. That's different, because they're good at making money, but debt is a different story.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a different story.
Yeah. Whether you can shoulder that burden, but I mean that's important. It's important to contribute towards financial literacy, and a lot of what Etihad Credit Bureau, I think, for what I can see, are trying to do. Is say to people, look, if you pay your bills on time, if you manage your credit cards responsibly, you should be able to benefit from, the fact that you're being a good boy or a good girl, instantly. So what they're also doing is extending what counts towards a credit score. So this is, the development of the offering beyond, the traditional bank data. So you can include real estate obligations, for example, utility bills, telecoms payments, buy now, pay later transactions, that kind of thing. And it's a recognition, I think, that, and I know you'll back this up, that our financial lives they're more diverse than ever.
I also have an idea where this will help people who might be taking personal loans, or they might be taking riskier loans by what's the word here, non-official providers, like someone like, they could be loan sharks, not per se loan sharks, but they could be giving high interest rate loans, right?
Right. Okay.
And then putting people in a very bad situation, and we don't know where that leads. So that person may be in a desperate situation, and he's like, okay, if that person would have checked his credit score and said, okay, I can get a proper loan, it might not be that much. There'll be somewhat delay to it because of the processes, but at least I'll be safer. Versus borrowing money from friends, family, or that stranger who is giving you the payday loans, which are famous in the US and as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So that kind of, I believe that the reading between the lines. I think this is, if you look at the Reddit and all those places, you hear these. If you connect the dots, this is what I feel. This will help those people, provided that the information reaches them. There are avenues available now, so they don't have to go and trust, because there's a trust factor is huge. Right? Everyone, the first thing they hear is, oh, the bank giving me a loan, they're going to get me somehow, right? They're going to get me this way or that way.
Yeah, but at least it's a good point, actually. You're in, official channels, if you like. I mean, it's also a move that I guess, is going to be good for young professionals, for freelancers, for new residents to Dubai, because, you're making people visible to the system, and if you're young, or you're freelancing, or you just moved here, that's probably the time that you need the most help, or often is, because it's hardest to get credit when you're in those kinds of situations.
There's also another catch here. If you're talking about the new joiners, they might be joining new companies, and as you know, Mira Business FM is also a startup of sorts.
Sure.
And if you have a certain number of employees or not enough of them, the bank will treat you as a riskier, client in some sorts, because whatever rules they have will apply to the company plus you in some ways. So is the company going to just disappear, shut down for whatever reason? So this is the case where the banks ultimately have the basics which are applied from the central bank, and they apply further their own rules based on their compliance cost and structures.
Yeah, and not every company, as you say, is kind of on the list, whatever the list is. Yeah, I mean, lots of people have run up against that, I suppose. But it's a strong thing in terms of, the fact that it's the transparency. Credit shouldn't be a mystery. The processes that determine your score shouldn't be a mystery. It should be that people are able to, move forwards based on real concrete information. And this is an opportunity to see that information in real time, rather than just downloading a report from a particular period. You can go online and almost experience.
So I believe that you mentioned earlier you can do projections around some things in the credit score
I
system.
think that's one of the things that the app is going to offer. Yeah, the fact that you could say, look, if I took a loan here, what does that mean if I was, going to take a mortgage in 6 months' time? I'm thinking of buying a house, but I've just bought a new car, and how does that car purchase affect what I'm doing? Oh, whatever that, as the case may be. But that would be a good thing.
I think I would, as the platform we have here in media, that we should say something important, that okay, all of these numbers are fine.
Yeah.
And then, but that doesn't protect you. Those numbers or projections or whatever, even the conservative numbers will not protect you if your income stops.
Yeah.
If your income stops abruptly for either economic reasons or health reasons or just whatever reason, your income is affected, then how will you pay that? Those numbers are, all the projections in the world cannot say, okay, your income was X number, whatever, and went to zero. And it's zero for weeks, months, maybe years, 2 years, right?
Yeah.
What do you do then? These are the kind of conversations that are still lacking, I believe, in this scene here. That should be emphasized again and again. Some credit cards offer like credit shields and all that, and they're baked in immediately. And you have to cancel the insurance, but they stop providing it. For some of them, and if you're on it, you're on it. We cannot get more of it. Like they charge you, I think, 1% of the monthly or something like that of your statement balance.
Yes.
as a premium for the insurance. And then if you lose your job, you end up getting, I think, 3 months or something, depending whatever. I think 3 months, whatever. You get money for the statements. Effectively, they're free, or not free rather, from based on your premiums. So these kind of structures need to be more made available, which are still lacking, and it's on a bank-to-bank basis.
Yeah.
And again, the Islamic banks do offer that. I think they are somewhat more conscientious. They don't want to harm the customer by by default or something. So, but still, like I said, that how long will that insurance last you? Maybe a few months. Okay, let's say 6 months, not 1 year, not 2 years, right?
Sure.
So those kind of conversations we need to have them, more of them. Like, okay, the credit score is fine. That's for people with incomes, and everyone's income can stop. A business can fail. A job can be gone. Anything can happen. You could die. Like, accidents happen. People. I mean, we know someone here who was in a very bad motorcycle accident, and he was, he couldn't walk properly. He couldn't.
Yeah, sure.
So all of these things happen, and then what? What's the point of the credit score? You had these great projections and all that. What then? Everything was fine, and then next day nothing is fine.
Well, life has a way of getting in the way sometimes, doesn't it? But I mean, I think it's important, in as much as, this is a development in terms of the credit bureau, but it's as important, I think, in terms of financial education around credit, that the importance of understanding having a good credit score is important, but it's also the importance of having or being financially literate as well, and that's one of the great kind of almost side benefits.
It's a part of the piece. So one piece is that this is dead.
Yeah.
Then what about the downside protection?
Yeah.
Or at least being aware of the downsides.
Yeah.
Because you're getting painted this rosy picture of, I'm going to be fine. The numbers look solid. Everything looks solid, but no one is talking about, in a bull market, no one talks about the eventual bear market, which comes for everyone in a personal way and a macro way.
Yeah.
So what's that about? So
Yeah, but that'd make you a party pooper, wouldn't it?
well, that's why,
Unfortunately,
registered advisors will be the right people to advise on it, which we are lacking in this industry here. That okay, there's a fee-based person, someone who is registered with the company or rather with the government, and he's a neutral. He's an advisor, neutral advisor, right?
Yes.
He's not selling products. That those people would say, hey, yes, this is your score. This is what it means to your life, to your risk position, risk capacity, and linking the dots together and not looking that in a very myopic way and just, okay, this is the one thing that's going to win me in life, but now I can have the best car or the best gadget, whatever I want to buy, the next big PC upgrade, whatever I want to do, all of that stuff.
Another story this week, so that's credit scores, but the other story that caught our eye in the office here was the news that the UAE Central Bank has removed the minimum salary requirement for personal loans. I just wonder, is that a surprise to you?
It is, it was unexpected.
It was.
Completely unexpected. And I think it's, again, going back to the loan sharks. It's going to be awesome for people who want micro loans and who are in the lower income bracket who could not access any credit because their salaries were below 5K, 3K, 2K. You hear all these numbers. I'm not sure what kind of credit cards they will get. They were probably able to access loans because what was happening, I believe, was that buy now, pay later providers were filling that gap somehow because they are kind of in the gray space.
Okay.
And this will help the banks to offer services in a more, I would say, financially creative way. And let's see what the banks come up with. Let's see, are they coming up with ethical products or more friendly products to them that it doesn't harm them? Time will tell, honestly speaking. Time will tell. Right now, okay, they just opened up the gates and then what? That's it.
Well, here's what we know. Emirate Al is reporting this story. So the central bank's instructed banks to cancel the minimum salary requirements, a long-standing, parameter for obtaining personal financing, previously set at around 5,000 dirhams at most institutions. Now, banks are now going to determine salary thresholds based on their own internal policies. So, as you say, it's very much bank to bank. But it's a move aimed at giving lower income earners broader access to financial services, including cash on demand products. So that's a pretty broad kind of definition of what this is trying to do.
They've opened up everything. So the bank can literally offer the same kind of product that are offered to high net worth or affluent or middle class people. But probably the limit will be much lower. I don't know what the interest rate structure will be around that. It cannot be ethically that high. That would be very wrong. I mean, that will be a debt spiral, obviously. You will ruin them. Structurally, how would you structure someone? A debt where this is what you can take, and this is, if you miss some payments, what happens, what kind of penalties are around it, and do you give them special dispensation? You should. Ideally, you should. You should give them some more room, and so it's, I believe, a lot of work pending for the banks, and then there should have been, I believe, more guidance, at least that. Or it could be a reactionary situation where the banks will come up with some products, and then central bank will say, "Oh, okay, let's now. You guys have gone too far. Let's rework this thing."
Well, if you think about it, just because you don't earn as much as some people, it doesn't mean to say you're, any less careful with money, or that you wouldn't pay a loan back, or that you wouldn't pay the minimum balance or your card balance back. That kind of logic doesn't really follow. I mean, all residents, as well, there's another side to this, all residents in the UAE, particularly young people, but also low-income workers, labour sector workers maybe, will now be able to open bank accounts, which will be linked to the central bank's wages protection system. So, if you think through that, that will enable banks to directly deduct loan installments from monthly salaries as soon as they're transferred. So there is a layer of protection worked into this system as well.
Well, I haven't seen any cases where direct debit is happening unless you do a salary transfer to the same bank and a mortgage, because there is paperwork around the direct debit enablement still. It's not a straightforward thing.
Sure.
And a long time ago, I went through that with one of the banks. It was like, oh, the signature needs to be exactly matching, this, that. There was like literally one piece of paper, but I mean, it's still not there. And that was 10, 15 years ago.
Well, that's an interesting thing because I always have this trouble. My handwriting is like a general practitioner. It's like a doctor's handwriting. It's terrible, really scribbly. But I don't sign things very much anymore. I mean, how often do we sign our name on anything? I mean, it's pretty rare. It used to be, you were signing, 20 years ago, signing checks constantly and signing your name on different documents. Now you don't do it. And, digital signatures are as prevalent as, and becoming more so. So I've very often had this thing where your signature.
I'll give you a very scary story. I was trying to do this, and then I was at the bank branch. Of course, we cannot name names here, but I was at the bank branch and the lady just turned her monitor towards me and like, look at this. This is what we want. She just showed me the signature so that I would sign properly.
So that you do it the right way.
So imagine if I was a scammer, I would like just look at it and just copy the signature.
We should note that Muzammil is not a scammer. The thing about all of this, though, and the good thing about this story is it means it should be a little bit easier to borrow money. And a lot of people, perhaps in a position, that they do need some money, have maybe not been able to historically. So you could make a pretty strong case that it's hard for some people to borrow, even though in most cases it's not because they can't or won't pay. It's just because the system has previously just not allowed for this scenario. Do you know what I mean? So it is an improvement in those terms, obviously.
Like I said, it's an improvement, and I believe we'll have a clear answer in the coming months, probably 1 year, what kind of products are surfacing for these clients, and then how are they managing the delinquency rates which are occurring, which will occur. And by the way, just before I forget, one of the best examples is Grameen Bank, I believe. I think it started in Bangladesh, if I'm not mistaken. And they were the first pioneers in microloan transactions.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and their payback rate was very high, very, very high, because they were paying villagers very small loans, I think $50, $100, and very small numbers. And they would need them to do their own entrepreneurship, whatever they're doing. And women apparently did a lot of work in those microloans, and they were building their small, livelihoods from there. So, but those systems are not possible here because we are talking about citizens living in their own countries. We don't have any kind of overheads with visa costs and other things like people live here and all of that. So
for sure.
City dynamics. So if you want to look at it from a success point of view, that's the most real world example, which has been around for I think a decade or more.
Okay. Okay. Well, if it encourages people to, it could in some cases encourage people to become more financially aware. It helps with education if people become more entrepreneurial because they have an opportunity to do something. And there are benefits to this. The details, just very quickly, maximum loan size 20 times monthly salary, repayment terms limited to 48 months, requirements that installments cannot exceed 50% of income as well. That seems to be the stipulation.
Which is the same.
Yeah, so no particular change, but it's worth just reminding people on that. And the other side, of course, and you pointed to this, terms, rates, fees, continuing to depend on individual banks. So one side of that, well, it's down to the banks. What's that going to be? The other side of that, well, there are lots of banks, 50-odd banks here in the UAE, in the retail space. Competition, perhaps, unusual products, different lending products, different offers. Let's hope that way.
I mean, we can only hope, obviously, and it would be nice to talk to someone who has gone through this process. One thing, and again, I always see opportunities where, thinking of the Grameen thing, and then if they would set up a small business bureau, which is like there in the US somewhere, that the small business bureau would facilitate more entrepreneurship in some ways. That okay, this person is a low-income guy, but he's the next, he could be the next business tycoon. Sure. He wants a small loan to do this, which would scale up eventually. And we have, as a small business bureau, vetted this person and checked his business plans. And we are vouching to the banks that yes, give him some money for now, and give him some more money later as he scales up. So these are the kind of, I'm just giving them bank idea if they want to follow it. Like, I'm not sure if they'll care, but if they do something like that, that's a win for the economy, right? That's a massive win for the economy.
Well, that's the point of this, isn't it? And that's exactly the point. I remember years ago, I went to a bank manager, asked for a loan. He kind of laughed me out of the building, commented that I'd dressed for the interview. I'd put, a suit on. And I remember thinking, I was really disappointed and quite angry because it was patronizing. And I knew that I had a job. I wasn't earning a load of money, but I knew I would pay that money back. So I didn't bother with that bank again. And I still wouldn't even now. So these kinds of things have an effect, I think, and it's the old thing of paying it forward, isn't it, in some ways? I know that sounds maybe a little bit naive in financial terms, but, helping people is probably the right thing to do, and helping people financially is probably the right thing to do, and there could be a return down the road. So, there is a balance to be kind of
economically, the banks, the regional banks especially, again, that's the US model or mindset, is that they serve a purpose for the economy. They are there to provide credit to governments, individuals, and businesses for them to expand or grow. That's their underlying cultural ethos mandate. Now, how much is that happening? It's happening. Just recently, I saw a Reddit post where someone was saying, "Hey, I have cash flow coming in, and I'm a trade. My name is on the trade license, and I'm drawing salary from the company, and the bank is not giving me any credit cards." So that piece is still not fixed properly. And I personally managed to help one of my friends. The new regional bank, or rather the local banks here, which have come up, are some I think it's safe to save them because Ruya Islamic Bank is Ajman based. They are facilitating those small businesses, which again and allowing them to have a bank account. M Bank is one of them, Ruya Islamic Bank, because they're completely detached from the big banking structure. They are a small local bank, which was lacking here. All those banks here were giants, effectively, with $1 billion balance sheets or something. So these banks are playing this role. I believe they might take the lead. Banks like these might take the lead for these kind of rules, and it'll gravitate more lower income people to gravitate towards them. That I can take a loan from these guys. They're not predatory with regards to me. Okay, legally they have this room, but I believe that the word predatory comes when things go wrong, and how much leeway do they give them, right? Because I believe that there's not much legal structure around that give this guy some room. He's a scammer, he's still here, and there's some things have happened to that situation. What can be done about it?
Sure. Well, it opens things up for sure. I mean, financial inclusion is a good thing, and hopefully a very positive impact. So, a couple of stories looking at with Muzammil this morning. Credit scores, Etihad Credit Bureau rolling out some reasonably kind of sweeping reforms, hopefully giving us a little bit more control over our financial data, a clearer view of how our credit behaviour shapes opportunity, maybe, and also revised personal loan requirements from the Central Bank of the UAE. Always good to talk to you, Muzammil. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Tim.
Appreciate it. Mira Business FM.